Yeah, good morning. It's Bob out here at Sorrento Hill. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, and I'm out here in my Mickey Mouse t-shirt and my Mickey Mouse jammy pants and my flip-flops. This area. It's going to be our out in the area where we're going to put our barbecue pavilion. And at any rate, what I'm doing today is I'm getting ready to smoke some some pork loin roast, make some pulled pork. I normally do pork butts, but these pork loin roasts were on sale for like $1.98 a pound, so I couldn't help. Anyways, I got my old Oklahoma Joe smoker here. I keep her covered up, keep some of the dust and the grime and everything off. But then I got to figure out what to do with the cover. Here we go. And what I'm going to do to start it off, I got a lighter out here. Sometimes these lighters, if I forget and leave them out here during the wintertime, come summer, they won't start. But what I use for starting my grill, or my smoker and my grill, because yes, there is a difference between grilling and barbecuing. I've got over here, you can see my Weber grill. I use it for a lot of things, and believe it or not, I prefer the Weber grill when I'm doing pork ribs. Um, Barbecue's supposed to be low and slow, but to me, pork ribs have always come out a little tough when they're cooked real slow, like you would for uh, pork butts or brisket. I'm emptying the ash out of this thing. I'll take the ash and sprinkle it out over the area where I'm going to be putting my garden. They say that's good for gardens. So, but at any rate, what I have found is if I do my ribs at a little higher temperature in Weber grill, I can put 2 racks of ribs on there and put the coals over on one side, and that way they don't get direct heat, they get the indirect heat. But the little bit higher temperature that I cook them at in here and closer to the heat, it seems like it renders out some of the fat more and makes them juicier and more tender, and that fat just tastes different when it renders out some versus the lower temperature from smoking. And I use a chimney starter. I'll start my smoker out with charcoal, and I'm not being compensated for this, but I prefer Kingsford charcoal. It just gives a more consistent flame. Gives a more consistent flame and a longer burn than just about anything else. And I've got some pecan smoking chunks I'll put in here, and then I've got lots of hickory and oak around here. I like using those hickory branches. What I'll do is I'll go over to a brush pile that's been for a good year or so, so the sticks are good and dry. I'll just take my sawzall over there and cut off a bunch of little branches and just use those in my smoker. So it's kind of literally a stick burner. And then what I use to start these, normally what I would do is, well, he's coming apart. I left him sitting out. Normally what I would do is I just grab some paper. I mean, you get all those bills that, all those, not bills, all the junk mail that they send you and the flyers and like, I save those, and I use those for starting a chimney starter. That's what you do with that chimney starter is you put the coals on top. It's got a grate in it. I should have showed you that. And then you just put your paper up underneath, put a little vegetable oil on it, and it helps to get it started. This won't quite fit in there, so I'll actually have to use my grill for it. This has got a hook, but I swear I can never find it. There you go. And let me adjust your position a little bit here. Oops. There. I just put my little starters down here. Set my chimney starter on top. Bring up my back out lighter and start them up. In about 20 minutes, yeah, I already see smoke coming up. In about 20 minutes or so here, these coals will be good and hot. I'll dump them in the smoker and get it heated up. Grills are fairly clean. And while that's heating up, I'll go inside and I'll put the rub on the roast. Now, what I do for a rub, I like to cook and I like flavors. So what I do for my rub is I make my own. Yeah, you can buy rubs, but this is a recipe I worked on for several years and came up with, and I've got the Colonel beat because he's only got 11 herbs and spices and I got like 16. But it's I use brown sugar and lots of salt and a little bit of black pepper, and then a lot of different spices in it, seasonings and herbs in it, things like cumin and coriander and yes, coriander, and also a spice that a lot of people would never think of using called cardamom. They use a lot in Europe in cooking, but it gives it a neat kind of a kick, a neat little essence. And of course, some chili powder and all kinds of good stuff in there. And it gives it a pretty kind of a sweet, oh yeah, cayenne pepper. You got to have some cayenne in there too. Gives it kind of a sweet, sweet and salty, and with the coriander and the cardamom, a little bit of tart, and with the cayenne, a little spicy, so it hits all the notes. And then I use a variation of that seasoning profile to make my barbecue sauce. And I've got just a little bit of that left. I'm going to have to make another batch. I make it a gallon at a time. So, all right, while that's heating up, and it's amazing how much heat's coming up from that already. You can see the smoke pouring out from it. No lighter fluid. You don't have to worry about lighter fluid flavor. And I just I use charcoal. I've used people's gas grills, and I guess it's because I'm not used to them. I just can't get used to them. I don't care for them. I can regulate the heat easier on my Weber grill or my smoker than I can with a gas grill. And with a gas grill, it seems like, I don't know, for some reason, if you get fat dripping down, even if you close the lids, that fat still wants to burn. With this, even if fat drips down on the coals, I can shut the lid on it, and out they go. I don't have to sit there and squirt it with water and all that. So, and I like the flavor better. You can't beat the flavor of charcoal. And well, let me go get those get the rub on the roast. By the time I get them rubbed, this will be about ready to start, and put it in there and get my smoker heated up and be ready to start this roast to make some pulled pork for dinner tonight. They'll take all day to cook. All right, be back. All right, I'm back out here. I was going to do put the rub on the roast inside, but I just don't have a whole lot of workspace, so I'm going to use my picnic table. In the background here, you see the area that I'm going to use for putting up the barbecue pavilion, and it will encompass here where the picnic table is. But basically what I'm going to be doing is putting it out here in the trees. There are 4 small trees that I will have to cut down. As you can see, cutting down 4 small trees. The one that you see right here is one of the 4 that'll be cut down. I'm not going to lose a whole lot. And my barbecue pavilion, as you can see, is going to be under shade. So that's one of the things that's coming up, is a good old barbecue pavilion. Now, what I do here is these are again our sirloin roast, bone in. They're from you can look at the bone, see they're from the tail end, at the end of the loin, that you would use for for making your pork chops, and before the part that you would use for your rump roasts and your hams. So it's in that area. So that's what a sirloin roast is, and these are bone in. The dogs are going to love that. They'll get a chance to chew on them. And there's a couple here that could actually be used, and they probably would use, to make some pork chops out of. But what I will do here is just trim off where I've got real thick fat. I'll trim some of that off. Helps have a nice sharp knife. This is actually a boning knife left over from my days working in the custom slaughter, and it works real nice. And trim off just a little bit of the fat, not a whole lot of it. I like some of the fat, but if it's too thick, it doesn't render out and just gets a kind of gummy. But just thick enough that that it gives it a nice layer of juicy fat to render out and melt. So I'll leave about a 1/4 inch or so on there. In areas where it's like 3/4 inch or so thick, I just trim that down, and won't have too much on this. This part doesn't have a whole lot. I've gotten some butt roast before that had over 3/4 inch of fat cap on them, and that's just way too much. All right, and now I mean, this isn't rocket science, believe it or not. What I'll end up doing, and I'm just using the tray that these came on to hold them. Get my fat off of there, and then yeah, I'll go in and wash up when I get done. Got my paper towels. Just put a liberal coating of it on there, and literally you just kind of rub it in to make sure it adheres real well. And see, part of the reason for taking some of that fat off is the seasoning doesn't really penetrate the fat. But I like a nice generous layer of it. There's some fat that I missed. I like a nice generous layer of rub. And just want to cover all the surfaces. Just kind of pat it down there, rub it in. And then when I'm done, after I put them on, I'll probably put a little bit more on the top, because as that fat renders down, it kind of runs down and coats the rest of it. Yes, even on the bottom. And when I'm doing pork butts, especially where the bone has been taken out, what I'll do is I'll fold back the flap where the bone was taken out, and I'll put rub down in there too, so that it's got some down inside the roast. And yeah, you'll get messy, but hey, it's no fun if you don't get a little dirty, right? Now, these were frozen, and I've had them in the fridge thawing out, and then set them out for a little while. They're not as thawed as I would like, but they'll work. And you know, after these have turned nice and dark, have pretty much taken all the smoke they want, that they want to take, what I'll do is I'll cheat. They call it a Texas crutch, which I guess is appropriate because that's where I learned about it, was when we lived in Texas. But um, after after they've taken all the smoke that they're going to, um, you know, then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and wrap them in foil. And it actually, I think it speeds up the cooking process a little bit when you wrap them in foil. It also keeps it from drying out on the skin. And once they've taken as much of the smoke as they're going to take, anything after that, sometimes some woods, hickory and oak, are bad about that. But if you get too much smoke, it can actually leave a bitter taste to the meat. So once they get a good color on them and have taken about all the smoke they're going to take, I'll wrap them in foil and finish them off that way. And I've had before where the weather was getting bad out, or I was running short on time. Yes, I'll go ahead and cheat on myself. Had people coming over and running short on time, when what I would do is, after they were wrapped in foil, they're not going to take on any more flavor, and I needed to get them done a little faster. I would take them inside and put them in a 350-degree oven with a meat thermometer, my little remote meat thermometer stuck in it, and finish them off that way. Make it go a little quicker. All right, I'm a mess now, but my pork roasts are ready to go in, and my coals are about hot enough. Well, I'll be glad. That's one of the reasons why when I get my barbecue pavilion set up, it's going to have running water and electric in it. I can wash up. Let me adjust you here. All right. All right. Coals are good and hot. See there how they're burning real good. Watch out, dogs. And then I will just dump those in here. Woo. I dump those in there. Put that on my grate. And let my pit heat up for a few minutes. And then put them in, and then it'll just be hurry up and wait. My pit does have a thermometer in it, and I'll run this up to about 250, and that's where I want them to cook at. It's about 250 degrees. And they'll take, I've got a total of about 9.5 pounds here, but it's two different ones, so that'll help me out, because I can put some space in between them, and they'll take until late afternoon to get done. After they've cooked for a while, I'll locate my little remote thermometer. Oops. Poor Leo didn't like that. The lid from the Weber grill came falling down on him. So after these have cooked for a few hours, I'll locate my little digital thermometer. It's got a remote on it that I can keep with me. It's good for about 65 to 100 feet actually, and keep track on the internal temperature. I had an electric controller on here. I got a little blower motor that's fit into the end of the into the door at the end of the um, firebox, and it's got two thermometers on it, one for the pit temperature and one that you can stick in the meat, and you can set pit temperature for whatever you want, and it'll keep it within just 4 or 5 degrees just by controlling the little blower motor. It's got two thermometers in it, one that goes for the pit and one in the meat, and you set your pit temperature whatever you want it to be, and then the other one you set your meat temperature you want it to be, and it uses the little blower motor to control the temperature of your pit within 4 or 5 degrees. And then at the end of your cook time, once your meat comes up to temperature, what it does is it controls not by pit temperature but by meat temperature to try to hold the meat at whatever temperature you set for it. So, but my controller quit working, so I'll have to get another one. So I'm back to the old-fashioned way of actually monitoring here. But once you learn your pit and you learn how to open the door, how much you need to open the door, and how hot it is outside, how cold it is outside, if the wind's blowing or not, those things all make a difference, and you kind of learn after a while how to control it. All right, we're about to up to temperature. It doesn't take long. Look at that. Got that fat residue built up there. I guess I need to give my pit a cleaning. It kind of goes against reason to clean the pit, though, doesn't it? I'll remove that. I don't want it to fall down on the meat. But it's just over time it builds up the fat coating there. I'll dump that in with my pit. All right. Okay. Number one going in. And number two going in. All right. I'll close her down, and I'll add some of those pecan smoking chunks to it. And give it that pecan flavor. I've got enough of those. Where'd they fall to? I loved it in Oklahoma, where we had access to some pecan trees that had fallen. We actually, lady was advertising on Craigslist that she had a pecan tree in her backyard that had fallen and she wanted it gone. So a partner and I went out to her place and we cut that tree up and we got rid of it for her. And we got quite a bit of pecan wood off of that we use for running our pit, and it was beautiful. I love the flavor that pecan gives meat, especially pork and chicken. It's the best. All right, and coming back up to temperature. I don't know if you can see smoke starting to come out or not, belching around the edges. And now all we do is hurry up and wait. And about every hour or so, I'll come out and check the pit temperatures. I might need to add a few more smoking chunks, add a few more charcoal briquettes to it, add a little hickory log or two to it, and just hurry up and wait. I guess that's why so many guys who do real barbecuing tend to have a little belly and drink a lot of beer. I gave up the drinking beer years ago, but once you get the meat in, hurry up and wait. All right, well, I'm going to go have me another cup of coffee. Boy, the smoke is rolling. I'm going to go have me another cup of coffee, and then I'm going to get changed and go out and start doing some cordwood and just check on this every little bit. Okay, oh, there you go. It's up to 164 internal temperature. I want it to be about 190, 195. And at this point, I'm going to wrap it. Yeah, it's 165, which is done for chicken. But with pulled pork, it's best if it gets up around, I like it about 190 to 195, then it's good and done, and it pulls easier. So these are getting ready to go in the foil. Sorry for the shadow back there. I've got the lights, and I don't have them aimed up quite high enough. But anyways, I am now, as you can see, up to the top of the window on both sides. Not quite all the way up on that side, but making progress. I've got I got pork roasts in the smoker that are going to be ready in about 20 minutes to come off. So I'll have to pull those and get ready to eat. And I've worked up an appetite. I took 3 loads of dirt or dirt, fill, whatever, from, it's kind of a mix of sand, clay, and gravel from the pile that was left over from putting in our septic system. I took 3 wheelbarrows of that and put in some low spots in the drive, packed those down. Got the pork in the smoker that's, let's say, about 20 minutes from being done. And I've got done 2 rows of, or 2 batches of mortar, which is about 3 rows of cordwood. So I'm up to the top of the window now. It's, you know, I'll go ahead and do 1 more batch on that side to even it out, and then I'll come back over on this side and start filling it in up to the rafter, and then finally have this wall done. And hopefully first part of next week I'll get my pressure washer back, because by the end of the week, if I keep working at a good pace, by the end of the week I'll have just about depleted my stock of peeled and dried logs. So it'll be time to look for something else to do, which shouldn't be too hard a thing to do. I've got plenty of work to do around here. So anyways, that's where we are today. I kind of like the way it's shaping up. You can see that back wall behind me, and then you know, that's completed up to the rafter, and then that one next to it that's getting there. Now I'm going to hold off on showing a wide shot to show the whole wall until I get the wall completely finished, because I think it's going to be kind of dramatic, because the back end back here to my right is a little, just like 8 foot 2 inches tall, and up at the front it's going to be 12.5 feet tall. So it's 4.5 foot rise there, and I think that's going to be kind of dramatic to see that all in one wall completed, to see it fan out like that. At any rate, I gotta tuck point this mortar and then go get ready to pull the pork and have something to eat, and hopefully I can stay awake until bedtime at night. Bob here at Serenity Hill. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. And don't be afraid to get out there and try something you've never done before. You might just do something beautiful, and you might just enjoy yourself. Talk to you later. Talk to you next time. Bye.